Okay, all right. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to the annual general meeting. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sheldon Kirby. Currently, I'm the chair of the board. You have before you, here's Glenda, who's the executive director, and Doug Kirby, one relation that we really know, who's our bookkeeper. Yeah, he's your child. I know, very good. So anyway, and Bob, you want to, well, whatever you sit up with us if you wish. Okay, all right. So you have before you the agenda of this evening's meeting. I would like to have, who's taking the minutes?
I don't know.
Do we have anybody to volunteer to take the minutes, please? We need somebody. Well, this is getting to be a problem.
Oh, I'm hopeless.
Okay, well, you be as hopeless, I'll help you out. We just mark things down.
Like, really?
Showing online?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not working, Rebecca says.
Okay. All right, so can I have somebody from the floor, motion to approve the agenda for this evening? So by Tom. Moved by Tom to approve. Seconded by Glenn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contra mind? Abstentions? Carried. Okay. All right, now, you have last year's minutes before you, please. Some of you may have had a chance to go through them. I'll give you a couple minutes just to peruse them, and then I'll ask for someone to, motion to approve. Hello?
Patrick, is that working yet?
So can I have a motion from the floor to approve last year's minutes of the AGM? So by Bob Davis, seconded by, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contra mind? Abstain? Carried. Okay. So are there any errors or omissions? Let me see here. If there's none, we'll move on to Larry. There's nothing. We'll move on to my report. I'll be trying to be as brief as I possibly can. Should I stay? I'll stay. I like to stay. Sorry. All right. So tonight's meeting is one that's just to deal with the annual general meeting and what comes out of the accountants and the reports from the chair and from the executive director. Anything else that you want to discuss that's board related must be brought up at a board meeting. There will be one tomorrow night. You can provide, if you're going to the board meeting, you can bring it up in person. If you've got anything pressing that you want brought up in writing, you can do that as well. I'd like to thank you all for coming. If anybody is on the internet, I'd like to thank them for being with us as well. We've been pretty busy this year at MusicNL, and the office staff of Glenda and Rebecca, Abigail, and Luke have done quite a bit for us for such a small staff, and I'd like to thank them as usual for that. We've had a number of accomplishments and a few dubs this year, but I think that overall the good outweighs the bad. Membership is up some more, which is really good. The request for grant money is up. We can't provide any more grant money than we do because the government has not increased our budget. We would like that. But anyway, I think most of the membership are pretty satisfied with the way the grant money has been distributed. We've had an economic impact study published, and it's available to those who wish to view it if you haven't viewed it already. I'd like to thank those people that gave us a hand with it, and those people who were critical of it as well. I'd like to thank them because their criticisms help to go back to the drawing board and make it better. So, and that was important. It gives us a truer reflection on what the economic climate here in the province is like with the music industry. We've also had a study by Mickey Quays on the export industry, and that's available for viewing as well. My faithful assistant will display that. And as a result of that study, it's been determined that the export buyers program will continue to go ahead. There will be some changes in its format, but we'll continue to use it. We find that the artists that have been asked for showcases, many of them have received work outside of the province at other venues and that. So that's good. Anytime an artist can say that they got work, it's always good, right, guys? So, okay. So we made some changes to the awards programs this year. There's still some changes that need to be made to the reporting grant policy. We have to bring it into the 21st century because of the use of the internet and download and that sort of thing. The physical produced product is not as important these days as the digital one. So we have to make our policies reflect that. During the conference, we broke ground with sessions on mental health and inclusion. MusicNL will continue to be an inclusive and supportive arts organization with established partnerships and a promise to keep the discussion going. We found that they were very successful. The mental health one was really helpful to me. I needed it. Okay, so for an organization our size with such a small staff, it's remarkable what we accomplished. I mean, think about it. The Bell Songwriting Challenge, 2 newfound talent events, the export readiness boot camp, export buyers program, financial support for projects, travel, and professional development, partnerships with CNA, MUN, and just about every other arts organization in the province. I've been with the board for 4 years, and some days feel that my shelf life has run its course, but we'll see what happens. My time at MusicNL has taught me a few things. One, not every idea that I have is great. Some people don't think the same way I do. 2, there are many people out there in the industry that know a lot more than I do, and I depend upon them. I don't have all the answers. Some days I have more questions than answers. You can't win an argument on Facebook, so don't try. Sorry. And perfection doesn't sit well on me. I'm not perfect. The board's not perfect. We're a bunch of different individuals with different skills. Put all the skills together. We work very well together and try to do our best with the industry. If at any time you have a problem with the way the industry is run, or you think the industry is run, or you think the board is behaving, feel free to make a phone call. I would rather a phone call delivered to me or to the office so we can discuss what needs to be discussed. I really don't like airing out our dirty laundry on Facebook. I don't think it's fair because there's a lot of artists out there that may not think that way, or there's a lot of people that will comment when they don't have all the information. I'd rather come directly to the source. That's it. That's all I have to say. I think the organization so far is in pretty good hands, and I'll leave it there. And if you want to ask me some questions, I'll take the questions. If there are no questions, can I have a motion from the floor to accept my wondrous report? So moved by Glenn, seconded by? Second. Okay, seconded by Bob, you're fast. All those in favor of accepting the chair's report signify by saying aye. Aye. All those contrary? Abstentions? Moved. We'll we'll move on now to the accountant's report. Mr. Kirby? Mr. Kirby from Mr. Kirby? There you go. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to be here tonight and be able to present the financial report for the financial statements for the Music Industry Association. I'm not the treasurer. It would be a conflict of interest for me to be the auditor and the treasurer.
I didn't write that, but I'll take the blame anyway.
Treasurer's report.
You volunteered to take it.
Right. I do.
Bob is the treasurer.
Yes, Bob is treasurer. And Deanne from my office is in the back there. She's actually done a huge amount of work on this program, this association, and on the hearing and the audit report. I'd be lost without it.
She's very easy to get along with.
Sure. I'll start by saying that we have audited the financial statements, and there is an audit report attached to the financial statements, and it's a clean audit report. We encountered no significant errors or problems during the audit, and everything worked out very well. On page 2, that's the statement of operations. This year, the Music Industry Association had $770,000 in revenues and $820,000 in expenditures, which translated into a $49,000 loss this year. And that's in comparison to a $6,000 loss last year. When you look at where the association spends its money, under artist professional development and market access, it's $215,000, and the MusicNL conference is $234,000. So that accounts for about $450,000 of the $820,000 alone, just in those two items, which are very much membership driven. There was $50,000 spent this year on the economic impact study, which Glenn referred to.
Excuse me, could you speak up? Just
Oh,
a
sorry.
bit?
Did you anything that you missed, sir?
I got it, but I'm in the front row and.
Okay, so the overall, there is a loss this year, but it has been a good year in terms of activities basically, and where the money was directed. On the next page, page 3, which is the statement of financial position or balance sheet. At the end of the year, there was $76,000, which was receivable, mostly in forms of grants. There was a HST refund outstanding of $19,000. The bank was at $31,000 on its operating loan. There was another $20,000 loan. The bank accounts payable was $64,000, some government remittances, which is basically your source deductions, and that was $9,000. And unearned revenue $116,000. So basically, what unearned revenue is that's when you get grants from the government and other sources for a particular purpose, and that activity hasn't happened yet. So we basically put that in deferred until the activity happens, and when the expenditures are incurred and the activity is completed, then it becomes revenue. And then the unrestricted net assets of the organization at the end of the year are negative $144. Most everything is consistent in terms of expenses with the previous year, except for, I guess, a couple of things that I highlighted there. The artist development, the consulting fees, and the music conference, which were up from the previous year. And I'll ask if there are any questions that anybody has.
So the reason that the award ceremony was more expensive, the reason because it was interim and now it's in John's.
Well, this is last year,
Oh, this is last year, okay, 2017.
and it wasn't just the ceremony, it's the whole operation of the whole office and all of the activities that we do, right? It's not just the ceremony. Last year, of course, was the first time that we had a huge export component, and we brought in the 25 export buyers. Now, we did get extra income from a COA and factor, and that we sort of covered it up. But, we spent a lot of money last year, and it was to the good of the members, basically. It's not uncommon, and Doug can correct me if I'm wrong, for nonprofits to go through a period of a loss at times, or a deficit. And I think through the jigs and the reels of it all, it works out at the end of the day. But unfortunately, when Doug reports, he got to report what's there or what's not there. But, we're still operating within the parameters of what government expects.
Sure. Anybody else? Sheldon, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, well, in that case, then, Bob, if you'd be so kind, I'd like you to make a motion to accept the treasurer's report through the accountant, please. Or as the treasurer, I'm not sure, financial statement.
As treasurer, I'm not sure if I should submit.
I thought that, you're the finance guy, so. Okay, we'll do.
I
So moved by-
make a motion that we accept the donation.
And seconded by, someone, there you go.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of accepting the accountant's report, please, signify by saying aye. Contrary, abstentions, carried. Okay, number 6 on your list is the executive director's report. Take it away, Glenn.
Hi, everyone. I did basically bullet points for my report. I do have documentation with me if you want to read what I'm going to highlight here. Some of the activities that we have taken part in over the past year or so. 2018 marked the third and final year of our involvement with Fabian James and his Club One New Releases project. We had committed 3 years at $5,000 per year. And now that project has come to an end and our commitment to that has come to an end. I think it was fairly successful for the people who took part in the trips to the Caribbean. Is anybody here went? Yes. I think it was a worthwhile venture. Fabian has decided to go a different route, and I'm sure that he'll approach us again with some scheme or plan. And that'll be assessed when he does that, of course. Since in Bata Vista, CNA, the College of North Atlantic, was involved with us for years, right up and including Bata Vista. Then they stepped back for a year and the relationship was a little bit sour. Myself and Rebecca worked very hard to rebuild that, and we've done so, and we're very, very pleased with having done that. They came back this year and came to Twillingate with their second-year students and 2 of the instructors. They had a very successful showcase, and they were very, very pleased with the whole outcome. And so we're glad that they're on site again. The strategic planning, we do a strategic planning session every January, the end of every January. We bring together the whole board and we have a facilitator to lead us through a strategic plan for the next year. We did that in January of 2018. We have completed, I'd say, 90% of what was laid out for us to complete. And so we got another month or so to finish it. And that sort of acts as a guide for us to know where we should be going, and following it actually is really helpful for the office staff. And we go through it and say, well, we haven't got this done yet, so then somebody will take that and work on it. So it's a reminder, it keeps us on track of where we should be. And there's a copy of that here if anyone wants to look at that. A couple of years ago, we decided that we would try to put a focus on youth events to try to, build a relationship with youth that would grow with them as they followed their own music careers. So last year we did 5 successful open mics for youth at different venues. We did 2 workshops, one on performance and one on syncing, which was very interesting. And then, of course, we had the 2 very successful newfound talents that go over really well. We were involved with the Atlantic Presenters Association, which is an association that brings together buyers to fill seats of soft seaters, like arts and culture centers, that type of thing. We partnered with them this year, and we hosted a very successful reception at the Masonic. We had 6 artists chosen to perform, and they performed, and the house was packed, so they were very pleased with that. And there were a lot of people that got business because of it. I had an invitation from Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador to sit on a committee. It's the Greater Avalon Music and Food Committee. I can go around here. So what they're doing, they're trying to encourage food establishments to have live music, to present live music more often, especially around supper time, dinner time, and so it's starting to build. So there's 10 of us on that committee, and it's working out very well. We've also received a proposal, and there's an application gone to ACOA for funding for the Canada's Music Incubator Group to come to St. John's in partnership with MUN and with us, of course, to offer a artist management course. Historically, you would have had to go to Toronto, travel to Toronto, put yourself up with accommodations and whatever to do this course. And through our professional development grants, we did send a couple of people to do that. However, they were away from their family and whatever for like 2 months in order to do this. So I approached Val Mazik at the Canada Incubator, the Music Incubator, and we discussed this possibility of them coming to St. John's to offer this. And I met with Ian Sutherland up at the MUN, and so he agreed he would offer the space for us to use as a classroom. So we're hoping to start that in the spring. And there are not enough artist managers within the province at all. And I think that this will be a boost for the whole industry. And the proposal that was presented is here, if you'd like to see that as well. Rebecca and I last December went to Folk North in Toronto. We attended all of the sessions. We attended 90%, I guess, of the showcases. It wasn't well attended. It was fairly disappointing, to be truthful. And we chose then this year that we won't be going back. It was on a sort of a rebuilding process, I think, and it was not working. So I think until they get their act together, I think we'll forego going back to that. We didn't bring any artists with us. We just went to observe. In 2017, October of 2017, I went to Halifax Pop Explosion. The reason I went was because so many of our artists had expressed disappointment that they were never getting invited to play there. So I went there and I met with James Boyle, who is the executive director, and talked to him about it. So we decided we would sponsor a stage there this year. We sent four artists there in October, around the end of October, and To save money, no one from the office went. But Brian Power, who everybody knows, was going to be there. So we hired him, paid him a stipend to host it. And it was very successful. And they also, the 4 bands that were there, got other gigs while they were up there. So it was fruitful for them as well. So we'll discuss going back there again. We also attended in Toronto in June, North by Northeast. This was our first time going there, and we hosted a stage at Ridley with 6 of our artists. The place was packed, you know, because all the Newfoundlanders in Toronto were there. And it did prove very successful. However, the export part that we were promised didn't happen. So we all have to look at that. And there was some other disappointments with funding that was supposed to happen for our artists and that type of thing. So we'll have to revisit that for this year. We also, in June, the first weekend in June, we hosted the fourth Bell Media Songwriting Challenge. We brought in a guy, Jensen Bond, to lead it, and we had Janet Paul, Nick Davis, and as local songwriters to help us out. We had 12 people sign up, and they wrote seven songs. And Peter was our helper too, yes. He was the moderator. We had signed up previously for 7 of these, so we've got 3 left. And we'll do it again in June. It is a successful event, though, and it's worthwhile. The Newfound Talent at the Folk Festival was very, very successful, and that report is here if you'd like to read that. During the MusicNL week, we held a forum on diversity. We were approached to include this in our programming, which we did. This was very worthwhile exercise. And there were some recommendations that came out of that meeting that I put my glasses on, that we will bring to the board table now to implement. They requested that we include an Indigenous Artist Award category for MusicNL Week 2019, and identified a diversity and programming working group. And those members will be put forward by the forum panel. And then this group will meet and begin planning a diversity summit. And there's funds available from different agencies that would help us present the forum. So we're moving ahead with that, and I think we'll prove to be great for our members. We also hosted a panel on mental health. I met with the committee on last Wednesday, and we're going to be moving ahead with some events now that will happen during Mental Health Week. So stay tuned to your social media and whatever you thoughts of that. The conference 2018 in Tullingate was very successful. For anybody who was there, I don't think you would argue that. And we're still writing reports. And that will take another couple of months, I'd say, before it's all put to bed. I mean, it's, we've got to report to every single funding agency that we utilize for that. And it takes a while. So, but that'll be available by, I'd say, probably February. And as Sheldon mentioned, the economic impact study and the export strategy are just a copy of each here, but we have more at the office if anybody wanted to drop down. It's a worthwhile read, actually, both of them. And And planning for next year's conference has already started, to be truthful. You know, we are probably going to take a different tactic with we're going to present to the board for permission with the export program this year. We're proposing that we do a standalone event for export, where we will bring in to St. John's because it's easier for air travel. And I guess most of our members are on the Avalon for the most part. So we're going to investigate having a standalone event probably in end of May or the middle of June. We would bring in 20 export buyers, and that would be all it would be. So then the export program wouldn't be included in the conference time. That would also ease up the burden on the staff workload during MusicNL week. And I spoke to ACOA about that, and they're in favor of that. And I've also spoken to the provincial government, and they are in favor. I have not spoken with Factory yet, but that will do that. So I think that's all I got to say for you guys.
Very much. Do anybody have any questions for Glenda about her report?
Quickly, bulk material conference. The bulk Ontario, you said you went to, bulk
Both
North,
North, yeah.
have not been well attended, was that like lack of delegates?
Lack of delegates and lack of participants. And their showcases were, while the quality was good, they were very minimal. You know, there were probably only 3 or 4 a night, which we expected would be more.
So not worth it.
The quality of the artists was not an issue.
With the export program, so you're planning to do an export program in May, and then when the awards week comes up, there'll be no delegates at the awards?
No, we're going to try it this year. There'll be no export delegates. Yeah. Just have a standalone, and it'll be just strictly concentrated on export.
Let me interject a point here.
Yes,
With the speed dating, we'll call it, that happened with the buyers in 28,
yes,
I happen to know for a fact that I did have a showcase, but it wasn't an export buyer showcase, it was just myself.
yeah,
I did the speed dating, and the buyers asked me if I was doing the showcase. Of course, I said yes. And I had a group of 8 buyers come to my showcase, which was not an export buyer showcase.
yeah.
And I landed work because of that.
Excellent.
And I'm just afraid that with it being a standalone event and not a part of the conference, that those opportunities won't be afforded to people moving forward. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one that secured work
Right,
at a showcase that was not an actual export buyer showcase. So that's my only concern with having it as a standalone event versus at the actual award ceremony.
thank you for that. So Mike, would you like to send us a note to that?
Sure.
And we can bring that to the board then when we discuss the standalone event, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
So at the standalone event in May, would it still be available for like, members to come and observe?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
It's always my favorite part of Music
Yeah.
Week.
It will be, yes, yeah, of course.
And I would assume that travel for people would probably, especially for those not on the Avalon.
Oh, absolutely, that would be part of the professional development program, yes.
So anyone worried that, it's
Oh,
on
no.
the Avalon, they wouldn't be able to participate.
So with MusicNL week then, like happened, it's going to be Cornbrook,
Cornbrook.
and just be award show and conferences?
No, there will be showcases,
Okay,
but they won't be export
okay.
showcases. Yeah. As it used to be
So
previously.
that was it.
Last year was the first export program that we offered since, I think Dennis offered one in the early 2000s. We brought some publishers and buyers from Ireland. But that was the first big one, was last year. But other than that, there was never an export component to the MusicNL Weekend Conference. But, we want to hear your concerns about that. And once we discuss it and put it out there, we would expect your comments.
In the minutes from last year, it says, you discussed a partnership with one school of music who are looking to develop an artist management program to address a serious shortage of qualified managers. And you spoke about this incubator program. Is this a direct product of that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And you're partnering, Mom is partnering as well.
Okay, and is that like something that would be a free program offered to members, or something that, and this will be something that you would apply for and go?
You will apply to go. There will be a cost. Some of it could be covered under professional development, right? You can apply, you'll be able to apply for funding under professional development. But I mean, we wouldn't, it's a 6 to 8 week course.
And is this course designed to give you the skills to become a manager?
Yeah.
Okay, so my counter question then would be, something that was also brought up at the conferences in Twillingby, is there anything being done moving forward to put together a collective or a list of people that are willing to take on musicians as management? Because that's something that's very, it says here again, it is very short in the
It
province.
is,
There's
yeah.
very, very
There's a few around, there's not very many. There's maybe 10, to be truthful.
And their caseload was pretty full.
And some of them got a pretty high load. And it's mostly for grant writing that they use them. It's, some artists have booking managers, and some have grant writers and managers. So they need to come together. This artist management course would train these people to do the writing and publishing and management, booking, the whole works. Brian Power did it in 3 years ago, I think, and so that's how he's making his living now. He went to Toronto. Any more questions?
Okay, if there are no more questions for Brenda, can I have a motion from the floor to accept the executive director's report, please? So moved by Peter Moon, seconded by Tom. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrarian, abstentions, carried. Number 7 on the list is the appointment of auditors. You want to speak to that, or you want me to give this guy a nudge, or we should
Well,
probably
I
let
can't
the
really
treasurer-
make a
The
motion.
treasurer could probably speak to
Yeah,
this.
but I would suggest we would stay
As
with
treasurer, I
GMK.
would say that we've been very happy with Mr. Kirby and his great work that he's done for us over the years, and I suggest that we continue for at least 1 more year.
Thank you.
So I sent a motion to that.
Seconded by Peter Moon.
Yeah.
And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrarian, abstentions, carried. And we're stuck with this again.
Excellent.
That's great. Okay, now, this one here.
Yeah, this one is difficult.
Yeah, number 8. Well, okay, so you have a better skill at this one here with the people that are here. I think the decision by the board is that the referral from John will be in by acclamation. So
We had we put a call out for nominations to serve on the board. We have a complement allowed of our board members of 11 members. The 7 that are sitting there now have 1 more year each left in their mandate. And so we are able then to have 4 new members. We can also appoint in special circumstances. We have 4 qualified members right now that have applied. We can accept them by acclamation. And there is also 1 person from Labrador that we would like to appoint. Does anybody have any issue with that?
Well, I think South MusicNL, so it's probably pretty important to have representation from Labrador.
Absolutely, and we've been with that one for a couple of years now since Donna stepped down.
Can you just read the 5 names?
Oh, yeah. And their bios are here too as well, if you want to see them. I have those as well. Tony Batten from Gander. Tony used to work with Eastern Audio. I think he still does in Gander. And he also works with the Arts and Culture Center in Gander. He's been around the music industry for a long time.
Please French one.
Yes.
You go.
Taya Morash, who works for the city of St. John's and books most of their entertainment, like for summer festivals and concerts. She's not here, she couldn't come tonight. Peter Daniel Newman.
Wait.
David Smallwood, he's from Corner Brook. Peter is from St. Philip's. He was on the board before. We also had Madeline Kelly from Happy Valley Goose Bay, who I can't do that, but I would suggest you recommend that you appoint her as the representative.
That would happen
At the board meeting tomorrow. We also had an application from Justin Nordell, who is a U.S. citizen. So those are the ones. The 4 that are properly and in a timely fashion applied are Tony Batten, Taya Morish, Peter Daniel Luna, and David Smallwood, with Madeline Kelly from Happy Valley Goose Bay. So, anybody want to speak to that?
There's a comment about that. Arlene Churchill
Yes?
says, Tony Batten is a great person who knows the music industry and is the best sound person I know. He will be a great asset to the board.
Tom, we've got something.
I was just gonna motion to accept them to the board, one of us.
Okay.
I'll accept that.
Second it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
So for clarity, we're talking about the 4 appointees now.
Right.
The
the
Labrador will be
appointee.
discussed at the board meeting.
Yes.
So, we have a motion to the floor that we accept by acclamation the 4 names that have been put before us, of those that qualify for the board of directors. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Counter mine? Abstention? Carried. Now, questions from the floor? Any questions that you have? Speak now or forever hold the peace. No questions from the floor, just
I have
kidding.
a question. So I just heard,
You're second. Go ahead.
As hip hop becomes more and more of a bigger thing in Newfoundland, what is our organization doing to help foster that community and help support that community and help it to grow?
We have had an increase in membership from the hip hop rap community over the past year. We didn't have that category at all at MusicNL until last year. And we had one, and then we had a couple and whatever, and now we're well up over 15. members that are in that genre. We have, we include it in everything that we do. We don't exclude it, for sure. I'm working with Josh Kiley all the time, and Jeremy Howell, and whoever comes into the office that asks for help. And they've gone for professional development training. We've paid for them to tour, that type of thing.
It's exactly the same as.
Exactly the
any
same
member
as
from
any other
genre.
genre, really, yeah. We are also helping this really young man who's only about 13. And he bought his membership with a coin rolled up. And he drops in every now and then. When Scott was leaving last year, him and his friends came in and did a whole show for Scott in his office. So they're most welcome, to come into the office and talk to anybody there. So it's.
Yeah, I speaking to a lot of hip hop artists, a lot of them felt like from last year when they had the hip hop showcase, there wasn't a very big turnout. It was me, my friends, and then like maybe somebody else. And for a lot of them, it felt like the support wasn't there. So like it's good to hear that you continue to support and want to do more, because that message is really important to a lot of us in that community.
We had that showcase in too big a room last year, admittedly. We thought by bringing in some outside help, we brought in a couple of artists from Nova Scotia, as you know, that would help fill the room, but it didn't work. We tried it, it didn't work. So, we didn't have anybody apply this year for a showcase. So that's why there wasn't one this year.
Well, there were at least two.
Yeah, there were two performers,
hip-hop,
not
yeah.
export, yeah.
Yeah, showcasing that
Yes.
this year.
Okay.
They were very late at night, and they were simply.
It's true, that's very true.
Yeah.
I just want to ask about you talked about some of the activities that are going to be taking place around mental health and around diversity and inclusion, and I think that's really commendable. I think that's amazing to hear. And I'm just wondering if there's going to be opportunities for the membership to become involved with those initiatives.
Absolutely.
And if so, is there a plan to communicate that? Like, what do people need to do if they'd like to be part of those awesome initiatives?
We will be developing committees for both of those initiatives. And so you watch your social media and the newsletter, that type of thing for opportunities. And there'll be meetings to put together the committees.
Great, thank you.
And plan the program.
Who are the seven folks, right?
Not about.
Just back to the hip hop scene for a second, is the electronic and urban categories still together as an award?
Yes.
So that would be
And
the
that
only
needs to be
award
separate. That needs to be separate.
Okay,
Yes.
so, yeah,
We've had people approach us about that already.
so I guess Phil would still be in competition with Danielle kind of thing, and they're
Yes.
very different artistic.
Yes.
We've got to do some work on
We have
on
just
some
to
of the
look at
policy for those, but we're trying to catch up. It's hard to catch up to the music industry because the bloody music industry changes daily. And I mean, I'm really old, so I mean, I don't run as fast as I used to.
Yeah, no, fair enough, it can get a bit ridiculous when you try to branch into all the subgenres of everything, but I guess, hip hop and electronic music is just pretty clear along there, so.
Well, if the numbers are there, that's the thing too, right? Like when the numbers are really small, then you almost need, if you're going to have an award, you almost needed to have two groups together to give enough numbers that you could.
Well,
But now the numbers are
like
expanding.
one was gonna follow the other there, I mean, that's been the frustrations there, it's, in, the heavier rock categories, a lot of times, these kind of meetings, people who've been in and out of the organization they don't bother getting memberships or renewing them because they get involved for a couple of years. And if there isn't a category that speaks to the art that they make, they don't feel represented, so they don't renew. So I mean, I think if there was a dedicated, say, hip hop award category, I think you would attract more membership there. And I mean, it's probably, as you talk about outreach to youth artists, it's probably the largest, most broader participated in genre that, professionally in avenues that you're not necessarily seeing or maybe even on pulse of, right, in terms of the things that MusicNL is traditionally involved with. I mean, we've got Newfoundland artists, so-called SoundCloud rap artists that are touring the world, but they're not MusicNL members, so something we're exploring.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Who are the 7 board members moving forward in the next year?
Okay, well, we've got some here that we'll ask them to stand. Bob Davis is he's the vice chair and treasurer at the moment. With Tom here from the west, he represents the west coast and northern peninsula. And we've got Glenn, who's from the St. John's region here. And that's about it. And you've got Shelley Senior, who's moved to the west coast now. So she was representing the St. John's area, but she's on there. And we have Amelia Kern, who's here in the St. John's region. And we have Melissa Tobin from Central in Gander, and myself from Norris Arm, so I represent all of the Central region. So, well, any other questions just from the floor there? Yeah, go ahead.
So in May, we talked about doing the export program.
Yeah,
Is there
and
gonna
it might not, May is not written in stone. but,
Yeah, fair enough. But is there gonna be like conferences and whatnot, if you're gonna have exports there, export buyers or other delegates? Like any.
I can't.
You mean
So,
sessions?
by conference, I mean any sessions, any discussions, any like little.
Like the training sessions
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
had, oh, yes, yeah.
Would you need to be an export-ready artist to take the big league of those sessions?
No, you don't have to be.
I just want to make sure I still have
The
access.
pitching session, you mean, how to pitch yourself to an export buyer.
What kind of supports are there for people that are looking to branch into an international market from Newfoundland? What kind of supports are there through MusicNL right now for artists or musicians looking to branch out internationally?
Well, we support that through touring or professional development for those applications.
But the numbers, I guess, are a little different than.
We sent 5 artists to Sweden to Live at Heart. And, tons of our artists have toured Europe. Like, I know Ian Foster tours over there all the time, and, several.
I don't just mean funding wise, I mean resource wise as well.
That's what the export buyers.
But that's what the export
Program
program
is for.
is for, yeah.
When you go.
For you to build your resource bank.
Okay. Because I've been actively exploring market in Republic of Ireland over the last 2 years. And of course, that being said, there was nobody representing that part. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean about reference wise. Is there any other kind of book of references or contacts or anything that you guys would be able to provide, say, just for argument's sake, like if there's an agent that takes care of UK or whatever that you guys know of that you could pass on the information, or are those resources readily available for people?
We can avail that through provincial government, actually. They have a connection with Ireland. And they do have connections in different regions.
So that's something that you would
It's
set
part
up
of
a
their
one-on-one
whole,
thing.
it's part of the provincial government's export program, actually.
Do you know what part of the government is that, the TCII or?
It's TCII, the industry section. The They used to have a cultural exchange. Peter, you can correct me, you were there at that point, I think.
Yeah.
They had a cultural exchange with Ireland, but that is over. That's no longer in existence. But through the industry side of TCII, they do have connections in Ireland in the music industry. So if you want me to do some investigation for now, I'm glad.
Write a note.
Thank you very much.
Write a note.
There you go, already know.
He's good at making notes.
I know.
There you go. Are there any other questions out there?
I got something here.
We got something there?
Amelia says, regarding mental health initiatives, people can get in touch with her directly or for volunteer opportunities to help out at our upcoming events.
Anybody else?
Jed Munzer has a question, I guess, as well, regarding the management program. It sounds great. A lot of us have other day jobs. Wondering if the program would be able to accommodate those of us who are in this boat.
It will probably be mostly offered in the evenings because of that reason.
Are you close to bringing the questions to a close? Here on it. Okay, so I guess that should be it. Is there any new business that we need to look at for the AGM itself? Everything else would be regular board business that would be looked after at a board meeting. But anything concerning the AGM that needs to be brought forward as far as new business is concerned?
Sorry.
Pardon?
What was the last time you said?
I said, yeah, if there's any new business regarding the AGM, or such as if you want to change the date or change the format or something like that, it's the only new business that we can bring up at the moment, right?
It's also a time that, if you're familiar with the policies of MusicNL, this would be the forum to offer us suggestions of any type of policy that needed changing. And then that would be brought to the board to ratify. But this is where you would bring that forward. It would probably have to be planned in advance because the development of a policy would take you a little while to do so. But you would bring it to the AGM, and then we in turn, or the board in turn, would bring it to the board, the first board meeting, and discussion, and to see if it would be accepted. So if there's something you think should be a policy of MusicNL, and if you've thought about it, something that you don't think is, the operation, I guess, of MusicNL is not running right because of a certain, you feel we need a policy for it. And now's the time to think about it and to bring it to the board's attention.
Well, that's it, folks. I guess, if somebody would make a motion to close off the annual general meeting, we'll call it a night. Motion. That's it. You don't need a second. You're closed out. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.
Everyone's hosting birthday.
You're hosting tonight? All right.
Well,
Okay.
you can still make it down to here.
My wife is actually in the room tonight, so just let her know. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it, Bob. My pleasure.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.